This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
All right, we are live. It's the Practice Squad Live version 2, coming at you a little late this week. You know, this is a fun program, still trying to figure out everything, but excited to be back live. Stroz, today, kind of an interesting, different show. I don't think we're going to fight much today, which is a nice break after what we dealt with last week. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, probably the most loyal, I don't want to say most loyal listener, because I'm sure there are a lot of you who are loyal listeners, but the most loyal commenter, Paul, gave us a request for, I don't know, how long has he been requesting this, Stroz? 6 months? A year?
No, I want to go day one.
He has been asking us to watch, it's AFL, the Australian Football League, I believe. I don't even know. I don't even know what it's called, what I just watched. But we're going to break down some Australian, whatever the hell the sport is. Stroz, I guess Stroz is maybe starting to really get into his quarantine because he wants to talk about our binges. Going to be a great opportunity for you to interact with us there. But first, the NFL schedule comes out today. And we were trying to figure out a way to talk about this. For me, when the NFL schedule comes out, it's less about playing the schedule game and more about, I like to look for the perfect road trip. The perfect, because I would say every year, with the exception of 2 years, I believe, over the last 7 or 8 years, I've done a Lions road trip. I don't anticipate that I will be doing one this year, which makes the schedule coming out maybe a little bit less exciting. But we want to talk perfect NFL road trip. That means location.
Wait, hold on. Why don't you think you're going to be doing one?
I don't think there's going to be crowds at football games. I mean, that's my belief. Right. We'll see how things go. And if there are crowds at football games, I think they're going to be incredibly small. I do not think they will be full crowds. But we want to talk perfect NFL road trip. So that's team, that's time of year, that's, what makes the perfect NFL road trip for you. Do you want to know some of the ones I've done, Stroz, before we get into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So year one, funny story, year one was Pittsburgh. And we didn't even necessarily mean to do a Pittsburgh road trip. We were actually at the NFL Hall of Fame and didn't even realize, oh, hey, the Lions are in Pittsburgh the next day. So we drove from Canton to Pittsburgh, watched the Lions. Years after that, I've done Cleveland, I've done Baltimore, I've done Indianapolis, I've done Minneapolis twice. What else have I done? I've done Miami, Buffalo, and I think that might be the extent of my road trips. I think that's all of them.
Which one was your favorite?
Oh, that's tough because that's the thing. That's why this is a fun conversation. Miami was really cool because we did Miami because my brother was staying in Naples, which is like a 2-hour drive away, maybe a little bit more than that. I don't really remember. But so we did Miami and we did Naples, and made that a trip. Minneapolis is really cool because you fly into Minneapolis and you don't need any form of transportation. Like there is a light rail at the airport that goes like to anywhere you need to go downtown around the city. So it's super, super easy. We just fly into Minneapolis and take the light rail to our hotel, take the light rail to the game. Like it lets you go kind of everywhere you need to do. Very simple. As far as cities that I like the most, it's probably Indianapolis and Pittsburgh. I've been to Pittsburgh twice. Really, really like the city of Pittsburgh. And here's the other thing that's underrated that I actually suspect me and you are going to differ pretty greatly on, Stroz. The game day atmosphere, not just at the stadium, but around the stadium is a big part of this. And in Pittsburgh, we were there for a preseason game. Because again, it wasn't even planned to be Pittsburgh. It was just, that's where, actually my first few years were preseason games. But it was just like, they were there, so we drove. But even though it was a preseason game, like we went to the Jerome Bettis Bar and Grill, and every single person in there had a Steelers jersey on. And it was like an hour and a half wait to get a seat. And it was just like crazy intense. Like, this is a preseason game.
So now, what I understand about Pittsburgh, right? Because I've had a couple buddies go, and they've come back and they've told me it's absolute magic. Basically, the city shuts down, except for like the bars, and everybody is in and around the stadium all day long, and it's like a massive party. And the way like the city's kind of laid out, so I don't know. You tell me if I'm wrong or if I misunderstood them. Basically, there's like bridges to everything. It's not like it's like a straight road here or there, but like you walk over these bridges, and you can usually see the bridges. I think
I definitely saw bridges. I don't particularly remember walking across bridges. I do remember driving across bridges. Yeah, because Pittsburgh was my first Lions road trip, it kind of set the stage for what the future ones were going to look like. And so after that, it became all about trying to find like the bar to be at. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking, what's the perfect NFL road trip? Would love for you to weigh in on Periscope, on Twitter, wherever. But I don't know that any pregame bar has lived up to what the Jerome Bettis Bar and Grill was. Buffalo, okay, so Buffalo's funny because Buffalo is literally just like, think of Palace of Auburn Hills. There's nothing around it, right? It's just nothing but parking lot. Buffalo's like that too, except it's not like one giant parking lot. It's just like miles and miles of parking lot. Like we parked right next to the stadium for like $20, which you're not doing probably anywhere else in the country. The only bar that we could find in walking distance was really, really cool. ESPN actually did an article on it. I don't remember the name of it. But like he's got pictures of like, it's because it's the only bar in the area. All the players used to party there after games. He's got pictures with
Buffalo Bill fans.
Everybody.
Like absolutely.
Yeah, no. And so he had an upstairs that like it was reserved for players only after games. He had stories like, and because we talked to the owner, he sat next to us, and who knows, may have been full of crap. He told us a story about like one time after a Colts game, Peyton Manning was partying upstairs and hurt his ankle, and the next day he saw on ESPN that he was questionable or something like that. But like that was really cool. But for the most part, like Cleveland was Baltimore, none of these places. I don't feel like anywhere lives up to the pregame atmosphere of Pittsburgh. And again, Pittsburgh was a preseason game. I've done Minneapolis twice during the regular season, Indianapolis during the regular season, and Miami in the regular season. Basically, my AFC North trips were all preseason.
Paulie just chimed in and said that he would love to road trip to KC.
Yeah.
The amazing barbecue a game at Arrowhead would be perfect.
Yeah. I don't really know a ton about the city of Kansas City. I think that the game day atmosphere at the stadium would be awesome.
I think it would be awesome to go to Kansas City. And like you said, the barbecue has to be amazing. So if you just go for a weekend, you can knock around, get there on like a Friday, eat all the barbecue you can eat on a Saturday, and then game day Sunday. Oh, I'm down. I've done a road trip once, and I went to Chicago actually, and I think I went trying to figure out the exact day that I did this. I think it was this past Chicago game that we just reviewed on the Practice Squad Presents the Throwback. I believe it was that week or that weekend that I went and checked out a Chicago game, and I had a great time. I got there on a Friday night and kicked around the city Friday night, kicked around the city on a Saturday, and then you had the game on Sunday. We came home late Sunday night, but it was a good time. It's always fun to go, and you end up interacting with different fans, and you guys spark up different conversations and different points of view always kind of come out of it, which is one of the cool things about doing a podcast. But it's like in real life, and you're half in the bag because you've been drinking all day. So it leads to interesting, fun conversations. I think for me, trying to plan the perfect road trip, I've always wanted to go to New Orleans, and unlike you, I've not had the opportunity, or I've not taken the opportunity to go to many different places. But I think New Orleans would be my prime destination. My mom's gone to New Orleans.
I'll say,
she's had
have you been to New Orleans? Period.
No, never. That's part of the reason why I want to go.
Okay, two things. First, I'm actually going to jump entirely off this topic real quick, and if someone could comment, I would love to know. Stroz is coming in my ear sounding like the devil. I think you have a devil filter on. You sound very, very deep today. But in the actual conversation, I stopped in New Orleans on the way to Houston when I drove here. Was only there for a few hours. Stroz, I'm not confident you'd make it to the game if you went to a game in New Orleans. I'm not. There's so many things that could go wrong. I think you could be too hungover. I think you could be dead. I think you might just still be partying. Like, I'm not sure you would make it to a game in New Orleans. I think you just want to see the city.
Oh, dude, I want to see the city, and I want to see the sights. I want to see the views. Sights. I want to see all of it. By the sights, I mean, that's the whole reason why I showed up with 1,001 beans.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, most of my trips have been early season. Paulie does say there's a devil filter on Stroz, so I don't know what's going on. At least you can hear him. We had some technical difficulties. Show started late because of it. We're going to roll with it. But all my trips have mostly been early on in the season, and I think that's probably ideal for multiple reasons. Like, seeing the city is definitely an awesome part of it, but, like, I want the Lions to still be in it, right? Like, if you don't want to be deep for the season and have the game not matter. Nicer weather, depending on where you're going. Miami, it was definitely hot, because I want to say it was, like, week... Actually, I think it might have been later than I'm thinking. I'm thinking that might have been closer to, like, week 5 or 6. But it was still hot, for sure. I mean, it's Miami. But I want an early season road trip. Ideally warm weather, but I don't need 100 degrees. I know some people want that. They don't play there anymore, of course, but like I thought San Diego would have been a really cool one. It's funny. I know like a lot of the things that make the perfect road trip for me, but I don't know the place. Like I want a great pregame atmosphere. I want a nice looking city. I want the game to matter still. Oh, here's an interesting question, Stroz. Game time. Is the 1 p.m. Eastern time the ideal road trip game time?
No. Well,
see, I prefer primetime games.
So
but I don't know about
depends.
a road trip.
Are you coming back on that Sunday? If you're coming back on that Sunday, I think 1 p.m. is definitely the time to go. But if you're not coming back on that Sunday, sorry, my dog is just like messing with my camera.
That's
right
your
now.
dog? I assumed that was you.
Yeah. No, it's my dog. She is all up on the back of the. So I'm sitting at my bar right now. Hold on, I'll take the camera down and I'll show you. I'm sitting at my bar right now, and my dog is on the couch, which is right over here, and she's now on the floor over there. Anyways, my dog was messing with the camera because she's fun. So sorry about all that. If you're getting motion sick, my bad. But if you're coming back home on a Sunday, then yes, absolutely, the 1 p.m. is ideal. Otherwise, I think the Sunday night game is probably more fun.
So our podcast network commenting on Periscope, the 4 p.m. Eastern is perfect. 7 p.m. you get too drunk. You know, first of all, I think I've never gone back on the day of the game, and I think that you should avoid that. Like, I look forward to these every year when I do them, and I'm going to miss it if I don't get to do it again. I didn't do it this year just because moving to Houston itself was so expensive. I couldn't afford to, go and do a trip after that. Or, to be honest, more so my dad couldn't because he pays for most of it. But I don't even know. I'm never going back on the Sunday. I want to enjoy Sunday, and after the game, I want to go back and watch other games. I prefer primetime games when they're home Lions games, but I think in this circumstance, I want the early game. Like, I want to, see the city Friday, Saturday, whenever you're there ahead of time. Sunday, I want to watch the game. And then, to be honest with you, I kind of just want to chill, go to another local bar and watch the later games the rest of the day on Sunday. I think I prefer the early start. Now, I will say this. The early start's different depending on where you go, I don't know that I want to wake up if you're going to, like, a Chargers game, an LA game. I don't know that I want to wake up at, 10 a.m. start? I don't know that I want to do that. That's too early for football for me. Now I've adjusted to the noon start because I'm in Central Time. But, like, even when we did Minneapolis, and that was a noon start, that felt weird because you're, like, waking up and you're like, it's breakfast time. I'm not going to eat pizza. I'm going to eat breakfast.
So a couple years ago, I helped a buddy move to San Diego, and it was great because we moved right around the time football season was, and we ended up getting hammered on a Saturday night and then waking up. And there's nothing better than waking up to football. Like you wake up now. If you live on the East Coast, you wake up and you usually have probably 2 hours of pregame. You got. I don't know if you got the fantasy shows on, you're watching fantasy shows. And at the time I wasn't playing fantasy. This was quite a few years ago. So you just basically rolled out of bed and walked into the living room, turned on the television, and instantly you had games kicking off and getting underway. It was fantastic. There is something to be said about the West Coast and waking up to football.
All right. Coming up in a little bit, we are going to react to a new sport we watched, or I guess the sport wasn't new, but it was new to us. Something they do in Australia. I think it probably is closest to rugby, maybe. I don't know. We're going to react to that. Stroz, do you have any more thoughts on the perfect football road trip before we get into what you're binging?
Paulie gets in real quick. I prefer the early starts for the same reason. After you go to the bar and watch the rest of the games. So Paulie's on board with you. as far as your viewing habits and your viewing pleasures when you road trip to a game. I'm excited for some football, man. I want to see what this schedule is going to look like later on tonight. Hopefully the Lions don't play a late Lambeau game, and hopefully we get somebody.
Don't you just assume they are?
Prior to the Bears or Minnesota? Yes, always.
All right. If you're not,
it's always Lambeau for Week 17.
If you're not listening live and you're listening back on the podcast, of course, weigh in as well at Brendan Riley _ at Adam R. Stroz. What's your perfect NFL road trip? And I'm going to throw this out there too. It could be someone aside from the Lions. You could watch two road teams, or not road teams, but two non-Detroit teams. Two road teams would be tough. I guess you'd have to go to London.
That might be more pleasurable actually, because think about it. You don't have to deal with everything that's going on with the Lions and taking that emotion out of it. Just go and enjoy.
I think doing these live shows, we tend to it's only second one, but we tend to pay a little less attention to time and keep going. I am going to share this. I may have shared it before. I was watching Sunday Night Football with friends, 2013, 14, maybe, I don't remember. And the Cardinals were in a big World Series game on a Monday night where the Rams were hosting a Monday Night Football game. And they were showing on Sunday Night Football, hey, here's how cheap tickets were. And I was sitting there on Sunday night with friends legitimately debating buying tickets to the Rams game and driving to St. Louis for that Monday night game. We didn't do it. Both teams were terrible, but we seriously thought about it. And I do think it would have been a cool experience. But, Stroz, I'm assuming the reason you want to talk about this is because you're really getting deep into your quarantine now. I know, for me, it's been over a month now that I haven't been working. I've lived the same day every day for the last month plus. What are you binging? What are you binging?
I'm getting sofa ass at this point.
You're getting what? Sofa ass?
Sofa ass.
At first I thought you said
where your
so
ass starts
fast.
to look like the sofa.
At first I thought you said so fast. I was like, you running 40s? What are you doing?
No, I'm just becoming a couch potato. It sucks.
Yeah, so what are you doing?
So I just got done. I'm lucky enough to where I share accounts with my sister. So I have access to her Hulu account. She has access to my Netflix account. And then I've got YouTube TV that I split with my stepdad. So I've got access to on demand. I've got all of this stuff I could watch. And I think the main reason I really wanted to do this is because I know people are viewing this as we're kind of going through this. People are also listening back to this on the podcast. So if you guys are watching something, please let us know at Brendan Riley _ at Adamar STROZ, or comment during the chat. Let us know what you're watching, because I'm looking for new things at this point, because I just got done crushing 8 seasons of Letterkenny, which was fantastic. If you get a chance, check out Letterkenny. So, if you don't know what it's about,
I have a friend who's into that, and I have no idea what it is. You're the second person I've ever heard mention it.
Dude, it is so funny. It is so funny. So it takes place in this little town in Ontario, Canada. And you basically have these different groups of people, and it's their everyday interaction. So you've got the Hicks, who basically farm the land. And then you've got...
Is it like a sketch show?
It's more of an ongoing series. A little bit... I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a sketch show. Yeah. I mean, everything... There's long form storytelling in this. So no, I wouldn't say it's a sketch show. But you have basically the Hicks, or the hillbillies, who basically farm the land, and there is this pride and prestige that goes along with being the toughest guy in Letterkenny.
Oh, of course.
And Wayne is the main character. He is the lead Hick in all of this, and he is the baddest dude in Letterkenny. And then you've got the athletes, who are the hockey players. And then you've got the skids, who are basically the Marilyn Manson goth people. And it's just basically their interactions. And it is this weird ensemble, and it is so freaking funny. You've got a gay priest. It's great. You've got this overly sexed bartender named Gail. She's fantastic. And just the way these guys interact with each other, it's amazing. It is so funny. I got through 8 seasons, and they're not very long seasons. They're only about 8 episodes. But I got through 8 seasons in probably 2 days.
Have we ever...
And then...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Have we ever gotten into my TV tastes in here? I don't know that we really have. I think we talked about my, I guess you could call it guilty pleasure show back in the original start of the practice squad before we had our break and came back to it. Dude, my TV, like, you know how last week you couldn't help me figure out a cheat day or a cheat meal?
Yeah. Yes.
I can't help you figure out what to watch for TV. Like, if you got a girlfriend, I can probably help her figure out what to watch for TV. But like, I can't help you. I'm into like CW shows, and like if it's targeted to like mid-20s women, or like maybe even skewing a little younger than that, I'm all about it. So you know what I've actually
This is so you, B. This is so you.
So you know what I'm binging right now, and it's kind of funny because I said you have a devil filter on.
Is it Charm?
I freaking love Charm, dude. Charm is incredible, but no, I'm not binging that right now. I have in the past. No, it's actually called Lucifer, which was a CW show, has been since picked up by Netflix.
Netflix, right? Yeah, I heard that's really, really good.
Really, because it's CW, man. Like if it's CW, you know who they're targeting. Me. No. I also not so much binged, but Westworld's been going on. Love Westworld. Season 1 was great. Season 2 sucked. Awful. But Season 1 was so good, I had to give them a chance at Season 3, and I think they've rebounded really well. Dave as well on, I believe it's FX, but I've been watching it on Hulu.
Okay, so Paulie responded with Dave as well, and I've tried watching Dave. I've gone to my sister's house, and I've tried watching it because she knows I'm a huge fan of Little Dickie. I think Little Dickie is great, and Dave is Little Dickie. I can't get into it. I've tried, and I love.
Do you like humor. You like over the top humor? Because that's what it is.
Yeah. No, I get it. I can't get into it. I don't know why. For some reason, it's a miss with me. And here's the thing: I love Little Dickie. I will spend hours watching his videos and listening to different songs of his.
I'll say this:
I can't get into that show.
I think it's intentional. But the music, like the raps that his character does, are like underwhelming. Like I love him as a rapper, so I would like his raps in the show to be good. I think it's intentional. I think he's supposed to sound like crap because I think he's poking fun at himself. Right. But like I want to enjoy it. I'm seeing on the chat right now, Derek, you on Netflix, not Stroz's type. Very much my type.
What is you?
You're not familiar with You? Dude, no. You was like a hit. So there's 2 seasons now. I don't even know. There's basically a psycho dude stalks a girl.
Oh, yes, I do know this. Okay, yes. So, okay, let me put it to you like this. I didn't watch this. I would be casually working on something and it'd be on in the other room. So I know all about this. This is the guy who had like the glass container and ends up trapping.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Great stuff, Stroz.
I know all about this. What's
Great
that?
Stuff, Stroz.
Yeah. So I know all about it. That was weird to me, man. Like that was. So here's the thing. I'm a pretty anxious person, and shows like that really toy with my anxiety.
Like dramas?
It become really, really difficult for me to enjoy. Like, because my anxiety goes from being like on a 7.5 to like a 14. The scale only goes to 10. So I'm already off the meter. And I'm just kind of like, all right, cool. I'm really uncomfortable.
When you say shows like that, do you mean dramas or what do you mean?
So it's like a serial killer.
He is not a serial killer. Calm down. He's a stalker. There's a difference.
Oh, my bad. There's another one. Dirty John? Dirty John's another one that really messed with my anxiety. My mom was watching that, and I was in the other room, and I was like, "What the hell are you watching? Can you change this?" This is back when I was living at her house.
I thought about asking you. We've already talked about my video games and do I have a problem? So I thought about asking you about this one already. But I am in 4 different Madden leagues, all with other real people. So I think you could call it binging. I'm probably playing 5 games of Madden a day in leagues with other people. Also, now this one's very on brand. Are you familiar with Dynasty Fantasy Football?
Yes.
So, I
seen Jim just had a draft.
I'm in that. Yeah, I'm in that.
Okay.
In fact, it's my friends who put it together. So, yeah, I am in 4 Madden leagues and currently drafting a fantasy football team in early May.
So it seems a little bit early for all of that, but that is totally on brand.
It's a slow draft. So if you're not familiar, basically we don't even have a clock. You pick when you're able to, and it takes a couple of weeks, and it's fun because like you get trades and stuff too. But yeah, I'm using basically sports It feels like you know how you have a bad headache and you take like Advil or Tylenol or something. It feels like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's I miss sports. So Madden and fantasy drafts and that's my pain relief.
That's your outlet. Paulie gets in and says he might go back and binge Breaking Bad.
I tell you, overrated.
What's that?
Good show, but overrated.
Bad. I've never seen it. I have it in my Netflix queue to watch it. I just have not gotten around to watching it. I don't know why. I basically know how it ends.
You want some recommendations on what you should watch before?
Well, hold on. I've got a couple other things. You tell me if I should continue watching. I'm binge watching 2 different programs right now, and I finished another one. I finished Witcher. Witcher was fantastic. I'm a total Dungeons and Dragons nerd.
It's based off the video game, right?
What, Witcher? Yeah. It's based off of a book.
Is the book based off the video game? No, I'm kidding.
No. The video game is based off of the book. The video game is based off of the book. So I binge watched that. That was fantastic. I couldn't get enough of that. And again, that was another one that was a really short season, only 8 episodes. But I'm also watching Altered Carbon on Netflix, and I'm watching Ballers on HBO. And Ballers, I'm 2 episodes into Ballers, I'm 3 episodes into Altered Carbon, and I think they're both pretty good. Ballers is awesome. I love The Rock. The Rock is fantastic.
I haven't seen Ballers or Altered Carbon. I've thought Altered Carbon looks good. The thing is, like, to be honest with you, I feel like I might watch less TV right now. It's like
Well, shoot, how do you have time? You're playing 5 different Madden leagues.
Well, video games are so social for me that, like, I've taken all the time that I would be spending with friends and stuff playing video games. And once you get on, like, now you're in a party with, like, 7 people, and it's hard to get yourself off. Like, really, my TV watching is mostly restricted to, like, the hour before I go to bed. I'm watching maybe 2 episodes of TV a day max.
When do you get your porn viewing in?
Are you for real right now, Stroz? You are quite the character. I feel like that was locked and loaded. Are you binging porn? I feel like that's where you want to go with this.
No, I'm not. Where I do want to go with this is because you brought up video games. And I was tooling around on my phone the other day, and I stumbled across this one that I think you might really be into. It's called Retro Bowl. What it looks like Tecmo Bowl. If you remember Tecmo Bowl for the NES system.
Let's calm down.
Absolutely.
I probably wasn't born yet. I'm familiar. I don't remember it.
So I absolutely love Tecmo Bowl. Tecmo Bowl is fantastic. So it is essentially 8 gigabyte graphics, but it has the play mode what Madden has. So you've got characters, you have players that you basically, your job is to essentially make them happy, and you have to either have to trade them, you have to sign them.
Your job's not to win football games.
What's that?
Your job's not to win football games. It's to
no. Your job is to win football games. You're basically the head coach and the general manager. But this is like, so it's not just winning the football game that is your job, right? You also have to. It's dynasty mode. So you take over a team that is absolute trash, and then you go into that. You pick up at the very, very end of season 1, whatever it is. So you're like week 17. You play 1 game, then you go into the draft, and you have the option to basically cut all your players and then start drafting over, or you can sign your players and then you've got to bring in your coaches. On top of all of that, you've got to keep the fans' morale up. You've got to keep your team's morale up. You've got to do there's different side tasks that kind of go along with every single week with you playing this game. And it gets really, you end up getting engrossed in it because next thing you know, like, so now I'm into season 3 and I run into some salary cap issues because I've got a quarterback that I'm paying $30 million to. I've got a wide receiver I'm paying $28 million to. And I've got a running back that I'm paying $26 million to. I only have $150 million to play with here. And I also have to fill out my
big
defense.
Surprise that Stroz is overpaying skill positions.
I like the flash and the sizzle. But you end up getting these guys, and similar to in Madden where you have your potential and then you have what you actually are doing. So you can build to your potential. Once you reach your potential, it's best to probably trade these guys off. So I invested a first-round draft pick in my quarterback. He currently is only worth a second-round draft pick, so I'm waiting to get his potential up so I can move him and then go out and get somebody else. So it's what happens is at the end of every season, other teams want to sign you. So you get the chance to build a dynasty with one team, and then you can move on to the
This
next.
is an online game?
So right now, it's on your phone.
Okay.
Just go to your Play Store and type in Retro Bowl. So my goal is I'm into, like I said, I'm in technically it's season 4, but it's like my first. This will be my third full season. I'm planning on winning another Super Bowl. I've already won 2 back to back. Planning on winning a third. Once I win this
you sound
third
very
one,
into this.
I'm gonna go on. Oh, dude, it's like this is what I've been doing.
I don't know that I've ever gotten into a phone
week.
game so intense.
Dude, it's what I've been doing for the last week. Like, I play it every chance I get. I'm sitting on the toilet for, normally my poops are like 10 minutes long. I'm sitting on there for a hot 25, just going to town, winning games.
So you can play games on your phone sitting on a couch or a chair too. Just a heads up.
I could do that, but I seem to be more focused when I'm on the toilet.
Stop doing the show on the toilet.
I should do that. I tend to get sidetracked with you. Anyways, I'm going to end up moving on to Detroit. I'm going to take Detroit over. I'm going to build them into a winning franchise, and then I'll probably go. And my end goal is to end up in Baltimore. I like Baltimore. I picked them as my final destination. So we'll see what happens.
Never have guessed you would get so invested. Like, just listening to you talk, it is clear you are very invested in this phone game.
Dude, this game is awesome. It is.
You have an end goal.
Just a regular.
Like, what are you going to do when you retire?
Start over. Go someplace else.
I thought you were like so bought into this reality that when you retired, it was over. You're calling it a career, deleting the app, and never touching it again.
There's a good possibility that I'll end up just getting bored.
You'll get an itch.
But there's always new things that kind of.
You're going to retire, and then you're going to get an itch and return because you couldn't stay away from football.
I'm going to be the Bill Parcells of Retro Bowl.
That's what I'm saying. All right. I think we can move on. And so this next.
So wait, hold on. What should I watch? You said you were going to give me some tips on stuff to watch. What should I watch?
I was CW shows.
Oh, CW shows. Yeah, that's.
We talked. I think I told you, right? I'm gonna go there for a quick second. I don't want to get too deep into it. I told you that I really enjoyed the show Vampire Diaries, didn't I?
Yes. And then I laughed.
Yeah, it was a much earlier podcast. So I was literally just gonna name shows that like made no sense for you. Do you have HBO?
I get it through. So I have Amazon Prime, and I'm getting it through my Amazon Prime for some reason.
If you were looking for a legitimate recommendation, there are a lot of good things. I mean, were you a Game of Thrones guy?
So we talked about this on one of our preview episodes. I never really watched. I watched the first 2 episodes. When the brother started banging the sister, I kind of checked out. It got a little weird for me.
The last season sucks, but the show's really good for the most part. The Leftovers is another show I like a lot. I think it's only 3 seasons. Westworld.
What's that about?
Quite literally, people just vanish from thin air, and the leftovers are the ones left behind. It's just people dealing with it, like and trying to work their way through it and figure out what's going on. But it's HBO, it's a good production. And then Westworld again. Season 1's great. Season 2's awful. Season 3 is very good. All 3 of those would be really good, like first time watches if you do have HBO. Not a whole lot else comes to mind for legitimate recommendations that I think you would like. I think you would like all 3 of those. I think everyone would like the first season of Westworld. The first season of Westworld was just on point. But for this week's show, there's not really sports going on. And long-time listener, long-time commenter Paul wanted us to...
That's why he's still watching this video. He's been waiting for this.
We put it at the end just for you, Paul, just to keep you here. We told him we'd finally watch some AFL whatever the hell. Wow, you took a lot more notes than me. And
Dude, I treated this just like our other podcast.
I thought about that. Yeah. So I do take a lot of notes. If you haven't seen it before, Sundays, or heard it, I guess. Sundays around 1 p.m. Eastern time, we try to get you your football fix. We're reliving the 2011 Lions season. And remember, that was a fun one. They made the playoffs for the first time in a long time. It's been a good time. And I actually think it's gotten a lot more fun with each episode because we know more about the team. I didn't take a ton of notes. I kept it all right here. I didn't need notes for this because I've watched so many football games and I'm watching like 2 a week. I need to separate different things in different games. We watched the West Coast Eagles versus the Collingwood Magpies. I don't know what a magpie is. Doesn't sound like a mascot that I would want.
I think it's like a crow or a bird. I don't know.
I assumed it was a type of food. There's pies in there.
I don't know. Well, you're in this chat. Let us know.
So what'd you think, man? Full disclosure, I think it was like a 3-hour game. It was the grand final of the 2018 season. I watched basically the whole first quarter, skims through the second and third, and then watched like the last 5 minutes. It was a...
Paulie says a magpie is an Australian bird, by the way.
Sounds like food. I enjoyed it, but I'm being honest, like I haven't been able to bring myself to rewatch entire like 3-hour, 4-hour games of like the football I love. I couldn't. I sat down with the intention of watching the whole thing, but after the first quarter, I was like, okay, I need to see where this goes. Did you watch the whole thing?
I did it similar to how you did. I watched the entire first quarter. I watched probably half to 3/4 of the second quarter, and then it was about 35% of the third, and I watched pretty much all of the fourth. I thought it was a great game. I really did. I got really invested in it. In that first quarter, I found myself actively rooting for Collingwood, which was weird because I know nothing about these teams, but I got into this.
No, but you're an asshole for rooting for Collingwood. Collingwood got off to the early start, right? I think. Yeah. Why are you rooting for the team that's winning?
Well, here's the thing, right? Going into this game, I knew a little bit about this just from talking to Paulie, and he basically said this was the greatest game ever. And the way I figured it would work out is Collingwood would jump out to an early lead, and then at some point they would just give it up, and that's pretty much what happened in this game.
How long did it take you to figure out
or West Coast ends up winning?
Rules?
So that is where I struggle the most with this, because I know a little bit about rugby, all right? And this is a little bit different than rugby. I thought they were the same. They are not. So when they first started scoring, and thank God for Collingwood being able to put points on the board early, I figured out what was worth 6 points, and then West Coast couldn't figure out anything, so I figured out what was worth 1 point. So I got that down. I got the scoring down early. I had to go to Paul probably beginning of the second quarter and send him a text or a direct message and said, bro, how do you move the ball in this game?
Don't tell me what he said yet. I think I figured it out. I was very excited when I thought I figured it out. And by the way, if you're watching and have no idea what we're talking about, we're talking about Australian Football League. We watched the 2018 Grand Final. So I believe if you kick the ball, the person who catches it, you have to let him get space to kick the ball again. If you throw it, you can try and stop him. And then anything,
but you can't throw it. You can't throw it. So what you can do is you can underhand
throw.
You could underhand volley it. You could lateral it.
This isn't a throw. I don't even know how well
you can't throw overhand.
But I would call this a throw.
Yes. No, exactly. But the throwing motion, you can't throw it like a regular football. This is great for the camera. What you were just doing is great for the camera.
I'm throwing the ball.
Is that what you're doing? Is that what we're calling this now? Looks like you were tugging on yourself.
But yeah, so if you underhand throw it, they can tackle you and do whatever the hell they want. I don't know how they decide when to stop play. When it's not a kick, it seemed like it occasionally stopped. Maybe I just read it wrong. It probably took me the whole first quarter, but I think by the end of the first quarter, I got a pretty good understanding of the way things worked. It took me a while to realize the guy throwing the ball over the back of his head on the sideline. As I do that again, it took me a while to understand that guy was not a player. Because I was like, how does he know where he's throwing it?
It took me about three times where the ball went out of bounds and for the linesman to throw it in over his head. I was like, what the hell's going on? Oh, that he's part. Okay,
I do have a problem with their scoring, by the way. So if you've never watched it, which I'm guessing nobody but Paul has, they have what? So it's 4 posts, and if you kick it through the middle two, you get 6 points. If you kick it through either the outside ones, you get a point. Mm-hmm. That point's basically a tiebreaker, is what that is. That's so meaningless. It's like in Harry Potter, how you get.
Oh, but in this game, though, it meant a ton in this game.
But individual ones are meaningless.
I get what you're saying, but so the way I look at it, right,
extra point in the NFL.
Yeah, the post on the outside, the way I look at it is if you're just not if you're kind of accurate, because look, the one thing I took out of this is these guys are incredible athletes.
Well, obviously, I mean, I figured that much.
It says something about a guy to be able to punt a ball through the uprights while avoiding tackles and trying to be brought down all at the same time. And I think the posts on the outside are there to basically compensate you for some of your inaccuracy. So if you get it right down the middle, cool, you're getting 6 points. If you get it on the outside or you just miss, and you've seen it in this game a couple times where guys would have free kicks and they would just be a little bit off. And you're still coming away with some points, so it doesn't help you, but it doesn't hurt you. And I think that's what it's there for. I think it makes the scoring much more interesting. You see it with the National Football League. Football is going to this, where more points, more scoring, it gets more crowd reaction, gets everybody a little bit more invested. Could you imagine if those posts weren't there?
I think it should matter. I just thought they should be worth 2 points.
I think it would be.
You
think it should be worth more?
In my limited viewing,
Paul says, I don't have enough characters to explain the importance of getting 1 point scores.
I mean, the score. So look, the final score was what, in the 80s?
The final score, I thought it was like 74 to 72.
So maybe it was in the 70s, but it's hard for me when you're talking about a score in the 70s to value 1 point. It's like people say in the NBA, like people who don't like basketball say it's the baskets don't matter enough, right? Like you score 100 points, who cares for each basket? It kind of felt like that. If scores are in the 70s, like those individual points feel like tiebreakers. It made
the thing I think you also have to remember though is both of these teams. So this was the championship game. So both of these teams are obviously A1 at what they're doing. These are arguably the two best teams in the AFL going head to head. So I think score wise, it's going to be a little bit higher than probably what your average game is.
Who knows?
Just
maybe they're going to defend Stroz. I got to say this too. It took me a while to figure out when the game was starting because the whole broadcast has it has everything, pregame, postgame, everything. And I just kept fast forward and like, okay, I don't think it started yet. I saw them start running in circles. It took me a minute to figure out when the game was officially started.
Watch them warm up. So something that I thought was interesting, I thought they were very, very polite when they go in for the coin flip.
Very, very polite.
They were like heads, please.
Okay.
In their little Australian accent, it was great.
I actually thought though there was a lot of very unnecessary shoving. It was just like
no.
It's like
I just scared the shit out of my dog. By the way, no, I thought it was fantastic.
I'm not saying it was
in
bad.
My notes, I says I love the angry physicality, punches, kicks, and knees to faces. Loved it.
When you're near the ball, fine. There are times like play is stopped, and I watched one guy get off the ground and like he grabbed the leg of his opponent as he was standing up to like.
It's so petty.
Ground, and it's so unnecessary.
Oh, it was so good. I loved it. There was one time where a guy was getting up, and as he's getting up, there's a player above him, and he just knees him in the chest for no good reason. And I was like, I love that. You're such a trash bag. That is great. There's
entertainment value in it, but as far as the sport, it just felt so unnecessary.
I thought it was fantastic. That was one of the things I wanted to get to. I love that, and I also thought they had weird water bottles. Like I don't know if you noticed the water bottle. I was watching it. I was like, "That's
it's like the regular Gatorade bottle, but like it's got like this like you just like squeeze it from in front of your face."
Such a weird top. I don't know. Like Paul, you have to let us know because I don't know if those are. Is that like how everybody in Australia drinks out of their water bottle? Like I don't know what the hell's going on there.
I didn't expect Australia to drink water differently than us.
Don't their toilets flush a different way than ours?
Anything else you had in your notes?
Let's see. I'm trying to read my handwriting here. I thought overall, I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was a very good game. Absolutely, I thought it was great. Like I said, I got really into it in that first quarter. I was rooting for Collingwood. They also had the American kid who was like 6'7", and I was like, cool. The whole stadium erupted when he scored. The whole stadium erupted with USA chants, which I thought was pretty neat. But I get what you're saying as far as you're not really into this.
My biggest issue.
Let me put it like this. This would not be if I had to pick between this and an American football game. I'm going to watch the American football game. Okay, but that being said, I thought this was very good, especially for not having any sports right now. this is great. This was fantastic. Also, Paulie chimes in and says, hold on one sec before you get to it. Paulie says they drink that way so they're not all putting their mouths on the water bottle. See, look at the Australians are smarter than us. We all just suck the same bottle.
No, you hold it above your head. Yeah. My only real issue was way, 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 way too many like pauses and stops and like it's the design of the game because if you catch a kick, like you get your time to like set up, but it's constant, man. Like I think if you counted the whistles in one quarter of this game, it would compare to an entire football game. Like it was just non-stop stops. It's too much for me. Like as a basketball guy, it was too much for me.
You don't have that transition, the flow like you do in a basketball game or in a hockey game, where play is down at one end and then all of a sudden there's some type of pivotal play and plays rushing back the other way. You don't have that.
And there are stops in football. I think that would be the counterpoint. There are stops in football in between every play. But it feels like, as someone who doesn't know AFL, it feels like so much more happens in that one play. I guess the counter there would be too, like, I'm only really referring to kicks. You know, when they toss the ball, it keeps going. But, like, it just seems like they're always trying to kick the ball. And every time they kick the ball, the freaking play stops. It was just, I felt like constantly, like, I couldn't let myself get into the rhythm of watching because there was no rhythm. It was just constant stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. And I think some of that's knowing it. I think as you, like, learn the sport, it doesn't feel as dramatic. But, like, when you're trying to figure out, why are we stopping so much? It stands out a little bit more.
I get that. I guess I went into it with the mindset of really trying to digest this one game. And as I was trying to digest the game, I was trying to learn more of the nuances of it. So again, I knew a little bit about rugby, right? And again, my own ignorance, I thought they were the same. Watching this, I realized they're a little bit different. And as this kind of played out, I got the subtle nuances of it. And the kicking and catching and then the resetting up, I think it shows an importance to having a player who is actually able to feel the ball after it's been punted, as well as having a guy who can kick the ball and put it where he wants to.
Because they're all doing this. It's not like one kicker and one receiver. You're kind of doing all of it.
So I think if you were to kind of look at it from a different point of view and really see what each guy has to bring to the table and be able to do, I think it makes it a little bit more. It puts a more of a value on the guys who can kick and who can receive the ball on the other end of it all.
In that sense, I felt like it was soccer-esque. Like everybody has to be able to do everything, and some players can do some things better than others. But it's not like in football where if you're a quarterback, you're a thrower. If you're a receiver, you get open, you catch the ball. Like everybody's kind of got to be able to do everything.
No, you're spot on. There's really no specialization in this. Everybody has to be able to do something. I thought it was pretty cool too. There was a play in the game where the small, I think he might have been Indian. I'm not sure. Browner skin, sweet beard. Anyways, this dude soared over two dudes. He was a little guy too. He was probably my height. Soared over two guys from Collingwood who were much taller than him, just to go up and grab a kick. And that was so pivotal because this came towards the end of the game, and it helped set them up in a spot where they were able to where West Coast was able to take the lead. So again, it's playing to your team's strengths, and I think it doesn't just. I don't think size necessarily matters, but more athleticism is most important in all of this.
All right. If you are interested in what we've been talking about, it's AFL, the Australian Football League. It's obviously a very different sport, but if you're looking for sports to check out, it is very cheap right now. I signed up for 1 week for $2. I think you can do $5 a month. It has all sorts of games available. Not something I'm personally going to do. If you wanted to check it out for one game, I mean, I thought it was it was cool to see what the difference is, especially when the NFL is having an influx of Australian punters. So I think it's kind of interesting when you know that to see how much kicking goes on in this game. But if you want to check it out, watch AFL. I believe $5 a month or $2 a week if you want to just give it a try. Other than that, Stroz, anything you want to do before we wrap up our second live episode of the Practice Squad?
So I want to get all of Paulie's comments in because he was commenting along as we were discussing. So he says West Coast and Collingwood were the two highest kicking teams in the league that year. So that was 2018. Other teams handball a lot more. It's faster.
I think that would have been more entertaining for me personally.
The handballing?
Yeah, just the more constant action.
I gotcha. He said West Coast had almost twice as many kicks as handballs that season. And then for me, Liam Ryan is the indigenous Australian. His nickname is Flying Ryan. That dude can jump out of a gym.
All right. That's going to do it for this episode. If you haven't given it a chance yet, I do want to try and push it one more time because I think it's gotten more fun as the season's gone along. We are reliving the 2011 Lions season. What are we? Games 11 and 12 coming up? 9 and 10, 11, 12. I don't know. Something like that. But we're reliving the 2011 Lions season. Lots of fun observations. Those episodes come out every Sunday at noon, so that'll be the next thing we drop. Thanks for listening and joining us live. You can interact on Twitter if you're listening back on the podcast at Brendan Riley _ at Adam R. Stroz. Once again, this is the Practice Squad.